Carolyn, now to the looming layoffs as Stellantis and thousands of jobs are on the line.
These four brands are officially out of business. What happened? Well, in a completely unexpected twist, Stellantis, the parent company behind these beloved American brands, is getting ready to shut down four of its biggest divisions. The news had left the automotive world in shock. I mean, who would have thought the company behind some of the most iconic vehicles on the road would be making such a bold move? What led to this drastic decision, and which brands are facing extinction? What's happening? Stellantis has dropped the bombshell that Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Chrysler are all shutting down. Can you believe it? These are the names that have been synonymous with power, ruggedness, and style for generations, and now they're being unceremoniously shown the door. But it gets even crazier. Not only are these legendary nameplates being given the boot, but the board members are also considering giving the CEO the same treatment. But what's really going on? What could possibly be the reasoning behind this shocking move? But before we dive into that, subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out. Why is this happening? Stellantis is currently facing a monumental financial storm, one that has stirred up a whirlwind of challenges in both profits and sales. The latest figures are nothing short of shocking, revealing a major drop that has left industry insiders and enthusiasts alike raising their eyebrows. In the first half of 2024, this automotive giant reported a jaw-dropping net income of $6.1 billion. Sounds impressive, right? Well, hold that thought. This figure actually reflects a staggering 48% decline compared to the previous year. And if that wasn't enough, it fell well below analysts' projections, which had pegged the expected earnings at around $7 billion. Clearly, Stellantis is dealing with some heavy-duty obstacles. So, what's behind this significant downturn? There's no single culprit, rather a mix of factors intertwined to create this challenging scenario. One of the primary reasons for the erosion in profits is the reduced sales volumes. It appears that the product lineup is not quite cutting it, particularly in the North American market, which is critical for the company's success and profitability. The North American region has traditionally been a stronghold for many automotive manufacturers, but as customer preferences shift and competition ramps up, Stellantis finds itself in a precarious position. As if that weren't enough, the situation took a turn for the worse in the third quarter of 2024. US sales saw a steep drop of $7 billion. Almost every brand under Stellantis' umbrella recorded declines, indicating that this is not just a one-off issue, but rather a widespread problem. Among the hardest hit were Chrysler and Dodge, those once iconic names that used to be synonymous with American automotive culture. Chrysler's sales plummeted by an astonishing 47%, while Dodge didn't fare much better, witnessing a grim 43% decline in sales. When you see these kinds of numbers, it raises pressing questions. What happened to make these brands so unappealing? What can stop this downward spiral? Despite the alarming figures, Stellantis reported an overall revenue of $92.2 billion for the first half of 2024. At first glance, that number may seem robust. However, digging deeper reveals a clearer picture of operational challenges and market pressures that are evidently weighing heavily on the company's financial health. This is not just about simple bookkeeping, it's about consumer trust and brand loyalty, all of which are notoriously difficult to rebuild once lost. Now, the numbers might look like the headline act, but guess what? It's really just a symptom of deeper issues lurking beneath the surface. So what's really going on at the core? There are three key factors we need to unpack together, starting with the most significant one: production decisions and surplus inventory. During the pandemic, Stellantis made a bold call. They cranked up production, aiming to stock those dealership lots to the brim. However, as quickly as that decision was made, the tides of consumer demand shifted dramatically. If you blink, you missed it. Almost overnight, Stellantis found themselves wading through a staggering surplus of unsold vehicles. Over 1.4 million cars just sitting there, collecting dust like forgotten relics from another era. To add another layer of complexity, a significant portion of these models has begun to age, no longer appealing to the savvy, modern consumer who is ever more discerning about their purchases. In a marketplace that continues to evolve at breakneck speed, especially in heavily contested arenas like midsize SUVs, vehicles from Stellantis brands now find themselves languishing on dealer lots significantly longer than the industry norm. But wait, it gets even more interesting. The Stellantis National Dealer Council is absolutely ringing the alarm bells. Their frustrations are palpable, and the blame has been placed squarely on the shoulders of none other than CEO Carlos Tavares. Let's break this down. The Dealer Council is pulling no punches when it comes to Tavares' approach to leadership. They're accusing him of being overly fixated on immediate financial gains while seemingly neglecting the crucial elements of sustainable long-term growth for the company. In a biting letter dispatched in September 2024, they boldly called out Tavares' short-term decision-making, labeling it a significant factor contributing to the alarming decline in both market share and dealer revenues. And what's even more interesting is that Stellantis and CEO Carlos Tavares have come forward to address these challenges head-on. Tavares had some candid reflections, attributing part of the company's troubles to his own arrogance in not dealing with these issues sooner. Dealers' frustration. The council emphasizes that while Tavares' strategies may have indeed pushed profits up, enough they suggest to fill his own pockets, the repercussions are becoming increasingly detrimental to the overall health of the brand. They assert that this kind of short-sighted approach is inflicting serious damage on the fundamental brand value and market standing of Stellantis. Even more troubling, they warn that the negative consequences of this trajectory might already be unfolding right in front of us. And it's not pretty, but there's a darker cloud looming over the horizon. The situation for Stellantis dealers is deteriorating at an alarming rate. Many of these dealership owners are feeling more isolated than ever, grappling with mounting challenges while lacking the essential support that could help bolster their resilience in tough times. The council has sharply criticized Stellantis' recent moves to slash marketing budgets and alter compensation policies. These changes are notably affecting dealer profitability and adding to the existing woes. So, what's the fallout from all this? We're witnessing a troubling trend where numerous dealers find themselves buried under an avalanche of unsold vehicles. The financial strain is seeping through the dealer network like a slow leak, and it's not just a minor inconvenience, it's becoming a major obstacle to stability. Just when it seems like it couldn't get any worse, whispers of layoffs and potential plant closures are escalating anxieties about the future viability of Stellantis' North American operations. What's crucial here is the recognition of how swiftly the automotive landscape can shift. Stellantis' initial decision to ramp up production made sense amid a pandemic-induced buying frenzy. However, the sudden drop in demand has left them facing a harsh new reality. These models, once the star of the show, have become aging inventory that no longer speaks to contemporary aspirations. The landscape of mid-size SUVs has transformed, with competitors aggressively improving their offerings. Stellantis could find that as the market evolves further, their vehicles are at risk of becoming increasingly irrelevant. It's like standing still while everyone else races ahead. The changing preferences of consumers, who now expect innovation and modernity at every turn, have caught Stellantis off guard. It's almost as if the very strategies that once fueled profits now serve as bricks weighing down the brand. If Tavares and his team continue on this path, they risk losing customer loyalty and trust, two invaluable assets in a world fueled by social media and customer-driven narratives. The council's letter highlights the urgency of reevaluating their strategies, not just for current profits, but for the brand's longevity in the market. The dealers, feeling left out in this whirlwind of decisions, are seeking the support and partnership they thought they had when they opted to sell Stellantis vehicles. Cutting marketing budgets might save some pennies in the short run, but it can drain the effectiveness of brand visibility in the long term. Without the necessary tools to promote their inventory, dealers' hands are tied when it comes to effectively selling products that are, in many cases, growing stale on the lots. Price increase? Let's talk about something major that's been brewing in the automotive world lately, specifically the sales figures. Now, here where it gets even crazier, let me explain. It's no secret that big names like Jeep and Ram are facing some significant challenges. Did you know Jeep sales have plummeted by 9%, and Ram isn't faring any better, experiencing a staggering 20% drop? In response to this alarming trend, the company has decided to implement a price hike on their vehicles. At first glance, you might wonder what prompted this decision. Surely there's a method to this madness, right? Their thought process seems straightforward. They're attempting to maintain those all-important profit margins, even in the face of declining demand. Sounds like a plan, doesn't it? But hold that thought. This strategy could be backfiring in ways that nobody anticipated. So let's dive into what these price increases really mean for consumers. First off, affordability is quickly becoming a significant issue. Let's face it, as prices continue to march upward, many potential buyers are starting to feel the financial squeeze squeeze more than ever. With the current market, it's absolutely understandable that shoppers are tightening their budgets and being more selective with their purchases. Interest rates are climbing, and there's a sense of looming uncertainty hovering like a dark cloud above, making consumers all the more cautious about how they spend their hard-earned money. This raises a critical question: who's going to be willing to pay top dollar for a vehicle that might not deliver on its flashy promises when it comes to performance or desirable features? But that's not all. Let's not forget about the emotional aspect for consumers who are grappling with this mix of rising prices and increased financial scrutiny. Imagine walking onto a dealership lot, excited to explore your next set of wheels, only to feel your heart drop at the sight of inflated price tags. It's a tough pill to swallow, and many potential buyers may just choose to walk away rather than commit to a purchase that feels exorbitant for what's being offered. The sheer number of unsold vehicles is staggering and poses serious implications for how Stellantis navigates its future strategy. When a dealership has a massive inventory to manage, it often leads to incentives like offers, discounts, and financing deals to entice buyers back in. If Stellantis is forced to resort to price cuts or incentives to move inventory, they might erode any profit margin they sought to protect with the price increases. This push and pull dynamic could lead to an even more volatile market situation than they imagined. Ultimately, they need to consider how they can align their price points with the expectations of consumers who are looking for quality and reliability. Yes, the temptation to boost profit margins is real, but the question remains: does that pathway lead to a healthier relationship with customers, or does it wind them down a road of frustrating, stalled sales and unsold vehicles? As they navigate these choppy waters ahead, the decision makers at Stellantis have some serious soul-searching to do. Understanding their target market and consumer sentiment isn't just nice to have, it's become absolutely essential. Now let's talk about each of these 4 brands that are shutting down. Chrysler. Chrysler is currently facing a whirlwind of challenges, and let me tell you, it's not exactly a pretty sight. The company is in serious decline, struggling to stay afloat. This predicament stems from an alarmingly limited vehicle lineup and a myriad of hurdles that come with the fast-paced, ever-evolving landscape of today's automotive marketplace. You might find it hard to believe, but Chrysler's offerings have dwindled down to a mere 2 models: the Chrysler 300 sedan and the Pacifica minivan. This shocking reduction raises huge red flags about the future of Chrysler in an industry that thrives on innovation and variety. Let's unpack that limited vehicle lineup for a moment. When you look at what Chrysler has to offer right now, it's downright concerning. The available options boil down to the 300 and the Pacifica, nothing more. This lack of diversity in their lineup doesn't just limit choices for consumers, it places Chrysler at a considerable disadvantage compared to competitors who boast a much broader range of vehicles. The automotive world has undergone a monumental shift. SUVs and crossovers have taken the spotlight, leaving traditional sedans like the Chrysler 300 in the dust. Sure, the Pacifica has its merits, particularly as a family-friendly minivan, but let's be real, the sales for it aren't anywhere near robust enough to keep the entire brand afloat on its own. Now, let's talk about the pricing situation, which is definitely raising eyebrows among consumers. Chrysler's existing models are beginning to feel overpriced in comparison to their rivals. Take the Pacifica, for instance. While it's praised for its fantastic family-oriented features and thoughtful design, many buyers are now leaning towards alternatives like the Honda Odyssey and Toyota Sienna. Why? It's simple. The latter options are frequently viewed as significantly more affordable. This pricing strategy is making it increasingly difficult for Chrysler to capture the attention of budget-conscious consumers, who have a plethora of appealing choices available at more wallet-friendly prices. Adding to this troubling trend, there are reports circulating that the brand's internal strategies are in disarray. Revitalization proposals that have emerged from within Chrysler seem to be falling on deaf ears at Stellantis, the parent company. This raises serious concerns about a lack of strategic foresight. Industry analysts and insiders are abuzz with ideas on how to breathe new life into Chrysler's lineup. Suggestions range from diving headfirst into the electric vehicle market, an area brimming with potential, to rolling out new models that align more closely with the current desires of today's consumers. Now let's move on to the other brand on the list, Jeep. Remember when Jeep was the undeniable king of the automotive jungle, the go-to brand for anyone with a dream of tackling rugged mountains or cruising through golden deserts? Those glory days, however, are fading faster than the tire tracks left behind in shifting sands. The reality is that Jeep's sales have experienced a gut-wrenching nosedive, plummeting a staggering 12% in just 1 year. This isn't merely a misstep, it's a full-on faceplant that leaves spectators gasping for breath. Picture this, being the last kid picked for dodgeball. That's exactly where Jeep finds itself right now in the car sales arena. They're languishing at the very bottom of the growth chart, while a fleet of 32 other brands zooms past them, leaving Jeep in a cloud of dust. Can you imagine a Wrangler hopelessly trapped in thick mud, while all the other vehicles speed effortlessly down the highway? It's a painful sight, one that underscores Jeep's current predicament. Now, let's take a stroll through a typical Jeep dealership. Instead of the buzz of excited customers kicking tires, checking out the latest models, and taking thrilling test drives, you've got rows upon rows of shiny new Jeeps that are just sitting there. Yes, you heard it right, gathering dust like museum exhibits rather than popular vehicles. And let's not sugarcoat it, dealers are furious. They aren't just mumbling complaints, they're practically shouting from the rooftops about how Stellantis has completely dropped the ball on this one. Speaking of Stellantis, their financial outlook looks as murky as a stormy afternoon. The company has slashed its profit forecast quicker than you can mutter check engine light, leaving us dumbfounded. We're witnessing a plunge from glorious double-digit projections down to a paltry 5.5 to 7% margin. Ouch! But hold on to your hats. The situation is even more dire. Stellantis is bracing itself for a cash flow nosedive that could hit a staggering negative $11.14 billion. And just when you thought things couldn't possibly get worse, enter Jeep's recall crisis, which is hotter than a summer in Death Valley. A whopping 194,000 plug-in hybrids are at risk of battery fires, turning those shiny vehicles into potential fire hazards. Talk about a brand reputation going up in flames. Dealers are feeling the heat in more ways than one, as their lots overflow with unsold vehicles to the point that they could start their own off-road parks. They aren't shy about expressing their frustration either. It resembles a family feud playing out for the world to see, and trust me, it ain't pretty. What about the investors, you ask? They're jumping ship faster than you can say Titanic. Jeep's stock has experienced a catastrophic nosedive, plummeting nearly 50% since March. This isn't just a dip, it's a catastrophic canyon. And as if this isn't enough to keep us on edge, trouble is brewing within the workforce. Unions are flexing their muscles, issuing threats of strikes over broken promises. It feels reminiscent of trying to navigate a minefield while blindly stumbling forward. Dodge is currently grappling with some serious roadblocks in their inventory and product strategy, and let me tell you, it's causing quite the ruckus in the automotive landscape. Let's kick things off with the Dodge Hornet, a compact SUV that's about as favored as a flat tire at a high-octane drag race. Imagine this, 550 days worth of Hornets just languishing on dealer lots like forgotten relics. That's not simply collecting dust, it's practically on the brink of fossilization. The reason for this predicament? The compact SUV market has become more congested than a freeway during rush hour, and the Hornet simply can't keep pace with the competition. Now, let's dig into the staggering numbers behind this situation. In the last 45 days, Dodge managed to sell a mere 1,283 units of the Hornet. That's akin to attempting to empty the vast ocean using nothing but a teaspoon. Dealers are now stuck with far more cars than they know how to handle, and it's wreaking havoc on their finances. Picture this, paying rent for a house guest who just won't budge. That's precisely what these unsold cars are doing to dealerships across the country. But hold on, there's more drama unfolding. Dodge is now trying to jump on the electric bandwagon, opting to swap out their iconic muscle for a jolt of electricity. They're phasing out beloved fan favorites like the Charger and Challenger, replacing them with electrified versions. It's reminiscent of trading a mouth-watering barbecue for a bland salad bar. Some people might appreciate the change, while others are left feeling hangry for that muscle car experience they loved. So how are the die-hard Dodge fans reacting to this electric shock? Let's just say they're not exactly doing cartwheels in excitement. Many are concerned that the new electric vehicles won't deliver the same raw power and gut-pounding roar that transformed Dodge muscle cars into legends. It's like expecting a fluffy kitten to pack the same punch as a lion's thunderous roar. Just not even close, you know? And let's not forget about the dealers. They aren't remaining silent in this saga either. They find themselves caught in the crossfire between Dodge's ambitious plans and what consumers truly desire. It's akin to trying to sell ice to Eskimos, when what folks really crave is a warm cup of cocoa. The outcome: plummeting sales and an overwhelming number of frustrated dealers who feel like they're attempting to win a race with square wheels, thus compounding their challenges. Now this makes you wonder, what did they do about it? Let's break it down. Stellantis response. For all these problems that Stellantis is facing, they are framing layoffs as part of a larger strategy aimed at enhancing operational efficiency. As market dynamics continue to shift and become increasingly unpredictable, Stellantis finds itself scrambling to adapt while also striving to keep their vehicle prices accessible for customers. This ongoing process involves rigorous evaluations of their manufacturing methods across various facilities. A spokesperson for the company noted that these layoffs are entirely within the framework of the 2023 United Auto Workers Collective Bargaining Agreement, an arrangement that accommodates such seasonal adjustments when the situation demands it. But hold your horses. The United Auto Workers Union isn't just going to sit back and take this quietly. In fact, they've come out swinging with forceful backlash, labeling these layoffs as another slap in the face to the many dedicated and loyal employees. The union leadership has not held back in voicing their criticism towards Stellantis, asserting that the company displays a troubling lack of transparency and respect for its workers. They argue that the layoffs are driven purely by business considerations, overlooking the essential need for employee welfare. United Auto Workers President Sean Fain has expressed his dissatisfaction, emphasizing that Stellantis isn't living up to its commitments outlined in the labor agreement just signed last year. It's becoming clear that the tensions between the union and the automaker are escalating at a rapid pace. Now, let's not lose sight of the bigger picture here. These layoffs aren't just about individual jobs, they're indicative of a much larger set of challenges that Stellantis faces. The company is grappling with a concerning buildup of inventory alongside declining sales in some of its key markets. This troubling combination has thrust the automaker into the spotlight, where both its workforce and dealers are closely scrutinizing its strategic decisions and commitments regarding investment. The United Auto Workers has already gone so far as to file grievances and even threaten potential strikes over these pressing issues. This action signals a growing unrest among union members, illustrating the heightened stakes for everyone involved. As we dive deeper into the intricacies of this situation, it becomes evident that Stellantis is indeed at a crossroads. The layoffs reflect not just operational efficiency, but also a broader struggle to maintain stability in an unpredictable economic climate. In an era defined by rapid changes in consumer preferences and heightened competition, Stellantis is feeling the heat. There are questions swirling around how the company intends to navigate these challenges while remaining true to the principles of fair labor practices. Let's take a closer look at how the market dynamics play a role in this narrative. We're witnessing a significant transformation across the automotive landscape, where electric vehicles and sustainable practices are no longer just a trend, but rather expected standards. Companies that fail to adapt risk being left in the dust, and Stellantis is no exception. Their ability to streamline operations while keeping their commitment to innovation and employee welfare is now in the spotlight. As consumers become more environmentally conscious and demand cleaner alternatives, companies that embrace these changes will likely thrive, while those that remain stagnant could find themselves struggling to stay afloat. Additionally, the ripple effects of the layoffs could extend beyond the confines of the plan itself. The relationship between Stellantis and its dealers is another critical facet to consider. With inventory piling up at dealerships due to a combination of sluggish sales and increased production costs, dealers face rising pressures. They're under scrutiny to sell vehicles while grappling with the complications stemming from the current economic landscape. Dealers rely on a stable relationship with automakers, and decisions that affect workforce dynamics can significantly impact how they perceive their partnership with Stellantis. But what's your thoughts on this? Let's know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.